Cool. Okay, so hi there, I'm Laura. I'm the team manager here at Off the Record in participation and engagement. And today we're joined with Ben. Ben, would you like to say your full name and what you're peer repping in?
Yeah, I'm Ben Conroy. I'm a peer representative, and I've been looking at NEET engagement, so working with organisations that specialise in providing opportunities for young people for education, employment, and training.
Nice. And Ben, how did you find out about placement at Off the Record?
So it was through May, who had volunteered here before, who's also one of our peer reps. So yeah, just heard about it through her, basically.
Brilliant. And what are you studying at the moment?
Psychology at UE.
Nice, brilliant. And you sort of started placement in September,
Mm-hmm.
and we're
Yeah.
coming near the end. And in this sort of first slide, we got a lovely picture of you, Ben, and I think one of your favourite hoodies.
Yeah. Yes, good idea.
uh, so do you want to say anything about sort of just what I don't know what my question is. I'm a bit distracted. Do you want to just say a little bit about you and who you are?
Yeah, sure. So, as you might be able to guess from my hoodie, I'm a big music fan. I play guitar, and yeah, that's me in the lounge of Off the Record quite early on. I think that was a photo for my ID badge that we got. Yeah.
Nice, brilliant. And then, oh, my other question. Why did you choose NEETs as a focus area?
So I thought it's a really important group to kind of target, I suppose, because there's a lot of research to say that NEET young people are much more likely to be struggling with their mental health than young people who are engaged with employment, education, training. And there's also kind of a lot of evidence to say that the two are kind of, it's a bit of a catch 22. No employment can cause poor mental health. Poor mental health can mean that you have trouble getting employed.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's loads of worries in there for young people. If they seek help, would they have to tell their employer that they're seeking help for their mental health?
Yeah.
Are they going to be discriminated? The stuff around their rights. So it can be quite sort of a meaty sort of topic to get into.
Definitely.
Nice. So your first slide says, "What have I learned?"
Hmm.
Do you want to say a little bit more, or do you want me?
Yeah. So it just kind of is going over a lot of what I feel like I've developed, what I've learned, and yeah, it was so much, so it's really hard to kind of condense it into into a few slides. But yeah.
And that you've come quite a long way because, like the other peer
Mm.
reps, when you first came, you were sort of asked to create an action plan,
Mm.
um, and there was a lot of uncertainty to start off with, a
Mm.
lot of sort of yeah, just not quite sure where to go, how to lead, sort of being told to take on and grow a project and develop
Mhm.
sort of your direction in that area, that focus area, was quite difficult at the start. Do you want to say a little bit maybe the challenges you faced?
Yeah, I suppose I talk about it a bit, but one of the things was like anxiety about starting projects. So like something that I talk about in the presentation is like book first, plan later, and that's like this idea that I had where I was just like not able to do anything, not able to plan anything because I was nervous about doing it, and that was something that I really struggled with at the start of placement, kind of getting the ball rolling essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think that's a lot of our conversation, wasn't it? It
mm,
often was about how do I start? Where do I start? What does that look like?
yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So let's click on to the next slide. So are these things that you've learned, or do you want to say a little bit more about sort of this slide?
Yeah, sure. So this was this is how I kind of pictured what connecting with young people has looked like for me. So on the top left, we've got good and bad help. So this is like the idea of um, what good and bad help is. So it's, I suppose fundamentally, it's about empowering young people to make their own informed decisions about their mental health and how they can access support. And it is, it's really important to everything that we do off the record, and has really helped me feel comfortable that I'm making the right choices. And it's like a great reference to refer to when in day-to-day interactions with young people, or like trying to plan a workshop or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
brilliant. And we have a lot of reflection as a team around that sort of concept about good and bad help, and we
mm,
often use the Nesta report.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it is that thing, having conversations about, okay, when we're helping people, are we trying to empower them? Are we trying to help them
mm,
make choices? Are we trying to give them information to be able to make the choices? And we often talk about that in terms of good and bad help.
mhm,
Yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
How else do you connect with young people?
So we have the hubs in the top right, and that's something that me and the other peer reps have been engaged with, on a weekly basis. Um, I think it is, it's a great space to be able to engage with people in like loads of different ways. So I put there like games, art, and honest conversation. And I feel like that sums up a lot of what the hub has meant for me. Um, just the different things that go on, and um, the kind of long you can build up some long-term relationships with young people. It might be that they come and they kind of get a sense of the place, and then they want to engage with other services, or it could be that like on the first day they know what they want to do, they know what they want to engage with, and where they want to go from the
Yeah.
home.
And those hubs, so they're the sort of drop in where
Mm,
young people find out about OTR, and it's a like a bridging gap whilst they're waiting for support.
mhm,
Um, and we never know who's going to turn up or how many people's going to turn up, which is quite a challenge in itself.
mm.
But at the start of the hubs, did you find it quite hard to find your sort of professional role or your professional identity in the hubs?
Yeah, I guess it was. It took some time to get comfortable there as somebody who's facilitating, because there's so much to do and there's kind of no set roles, if you know what I mean. Well, there are set roles, but as kind of there's a lot of space to be just kind of floating around doing finding jobs where they come up, basically, um, which I think is something that makes it really enjoyable, and different every week. So yeah, but once you get comfortable, it's good. It's
Yeah, nice.
really
And it
good.
is that it's that thing, there's so many, the hubs itself could be very busy, or you just never know what's coming through the door. But
Mm,
then it's there's also then many different personalities to manage within that team.
mhm,
Um and in the past I've had conversations with people about they feel in it that they have to be quite high energy
mm,
to be in the hubs. But then it's like actually you don't have to be. You could
yeah,
use your own you could be more plastic and calm and
mm,
um yeah, and so there's a lot of conversations that we've had with teams around that.
mm,
So you've got
yeah,
the hubs, and then you got the mini. Then we've got pop-ups, which are like
mm,
mini hubs out in the
mhm,
community.
yeah.
You want to say a little bit about those?
Yeah, so those were kind of like what some of the first things that I did at Off the Record was helping out our engagement workers with doing these pop-ups. I think the first one I went to was at SGSY's with Faith. Um, And yeah, I think it's a great space because you can just tell people about off the record who've never heard of us before, and just kind of do um, little games, that kind of thing. And then that picture in the top left is from a pop up that I organised at Creative Youth Network at um, their open evening, their open access youth.
Brilliant. And you've had quite a lot of different experiences with pop-ups. You've delivered quite
Mm.
a few on your own in maybe more sort of hard to reach communities, would you say, in terms of like Creative Youth Network, Prince's Trust,
Mm.
places where off the record maybe not go to as much?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it was quite challenging, and that that particular picture is quite funny to me, just because like I brought all this stuff, but like hardly any of it was used for the most part, just because it's kind of people are like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" And some were like, "Oh, I've heard of you. I'm not talking to you," that kind of thing. So it's quite, I don't know. It was
Yeah,
good, and I think had this COVID-19 not broken out, I would have liked to have done some more stuff there to build up a better relationship. Um, yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And it is that thing, it's about going to all these different settings and it's about you take these resources with you, but you're
Mm.
always learning as you go about how to engage with that particular group or community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. So this
Mm.
is a really nice slide because it sort of sums up what you do as a peer rep. You sort of
Mm.
it's important to do the bad and good help. It's you are helping there to run the hubs, you're helping to deliver pop-ups, you have your area to lead on as well. So
Mm.
3 days a week you're quite busy. And then on top of that, you then help manage the lounge, which is our waiting space.
Mm.
Um, which comes with its own complex challenges as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Such a kind of diverse workspace in terms of what you're actually doing there. You'll be just emailing somebody about flyers one minute, and then you have somebody coming through the door who needs help or whatever. So it's, yeah, really
Yeah.
interesting place to work.
And it's important to us that that waiting area where people could drop in, that sort of young people, um,
Mm.
is sort of highly represented. So it isn't like they're coming in a clinical space.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, there's other people that they can relate to, other peers. Um, yeah, but then we have quite a lot of conversations about maybe too much peer in that space can make it feel like a student dig, which then is the
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we got a
brilliant.
bit relaxed at the start.
Yeah, yeah, quite. We cut down the singing by half. Nice. Professional skills. So, what professional skills have you learnt?
So that first, the top left, becoming a key contact for the Princess Trust. So that was a lot of kind of communication between their team and our team, and kind of linking people. So um, yeah, just kind of making links with their groups and our groups, their young people, and then signposting directly to their members of staff from myself. So it was just a really cool way to develop professional communication. And
And
then
you become a key contact for CYN, and you've
mm,
put the trust at the moment, haven't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Right.
that yeah, it was kind of natural when by the time I started doing stuff for CYN as well, it was much more relaxed. I kind of knew the ropes very well.
Nice. And then you also are key contact into learning meetings. Do
Mhm.
you want to say what those are?
Yeah, so these are they're originally monthly now. Now that we're online, they're weekly meetings that are designed to kind of provide um, organisations with information on employment, education, and training opportunities um, for young people. And it's organised by Bristol City Council's Post 16 participation team. So their work is based around improving youth employment.
Nice, brilliant.
Mm.
And that there's some stuff in there that you've had to learn about how to present
Mm.
yourself in that meeting and what you feed back into the team in terms of what's important and what's needed to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're like meetings of about 30 people every time. It was really stressful, kind of like at the start, speaking to all these professionals and a lot of them in suits and that kind of thing. So it's quite daunting, but it was, yeah, it's good practice.
Brilliant. And then you mentioned this just sort of a couple of slides ago, but
Mm.
book first and plan later.
Yeah.
Um, So it was that thing about where, as often we had conversations about where to start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it was skill to start off with, like booking things. And then
Mhm.
from when we booked it, then we could plan because we knew a bit more information about what we've booked.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Um, yeah, I think that's just something that I've developed, and it was almost like a light bulb moment, realizing that that's what I needed to start doing, is just have like an image in mind and a specific date just to help as like a motivator in a way. Um, yeah.
Nice. And then do you want to say anything about supervision?
Yeah, so I suppose that was partly what made me realize that I needed this book first, plan later mentality. So I found supervision really helpful in moving forward. And I suppose in terms of like where it says how to make the most of it, I think there was some times when I was like too dependent on it, and I needed that book first, plan later to kind of say this is what I'm going to do and be confident in what I'm going to do rather than needing you or the other Laura to say kind of like what needs doing basically.
Yeah. But supervision is a really important thing to have in OTR in our
Mm,
team.
yeah.
And supervision, whilst there is some sort of planned supervision, it's also quite flexible. We
Mm,
meet as often as you guys, as each peer rep feels like they need it.
hmm
Sometimes we book in supervision every 3 weeks, but sometimes we'll have a supervision weekly. And I think that's really important because you guys are taking a very key leadership role within Off the Record, and you are acting as a staff member within the team. So you are given some sort of professional responsibility in terms of making sure you communicate about OTR correctly. So because you're taking on such a role like that, then it's I think as a manager that supervision is quite important,
mm,
and it should be a lot of it should be offered.
mm,
Um, and I've enjoyed supervision very much as well, Ben. I've enjoyed the conversations around what to deliver and just how to, so that I guess you're going to cover this in a bit, but just how to work with needs. You've brought in a lot of
mhm,
insights and thinking, especially for me, around what works in terms of engagement. Um,
mhm,
and how we maybe speak to young people that are needs.
mhm.
So supervision is not only helpful to you, it's also helpful to me.
Oh, good.
Um, so you help. So as a peer rep, that's sort
Mhm,
of those 4 areas of what you lead.
mhm,
But then you also do your sort of leadership area,
mhm,
and a lot of it was workshops into different neat groups.
mhm.
So do you want to say a little bit more about the Fairbridge workshop?
Yeah, so this was a workshop that I did with the Princess Trust and their group called Fairbridge, which is a project um, that's designed at kind of preparing young people for engaging in employment or training or something. Um, so they kind of do a residential and then a series of follow-up days. So what we did was take over their well-being day and kind of talk about mental health, basically. Um, so the idea was that we just kind of say what our thoughts on mental health was, like really vaguely what it is. Um, and I think that was really good because there was a lot of young people who'd got experiences of being in some kind of like mental health care service, and then a lot who hadn't. So um, it was good to show what we thought about mental health and maybe how we're different to some other mental health services that they might have been to before. And this section here on the left, the discussion, it was great to like just talk honestly with these young people. It really felt like I was talking to them like as peers, even though I was kind of facilitating this workshop. It's just it's so good um, to be able to talk about everything kind of in a really honest way and in a way that was constructive for everyone. Um, yeah, and in the top right, you can see just one of the gingerbread men. We kind of did an exploration on how our behaviours and thoughts kind of are linked. So that's just one of the activities in the top right, them exploring those things. Um,
And
uh,
you was quite creative. There was quite a few different creative activities you did with them. And you actually got a really high level of engagement from them and a lot of
mm,
discussions and debates around mental health. So I think it's
mm.
something to be really proud of.
Yeah, yeah. I think one that was good for discussion was the that we did like a big Jenga like they do at ResLab, um, where you take things out of the Jenga for things that might be bad for your mental health. And then once I did that, I decided to say that right, put things back in that are good for your mental health or might help you, might be supporting factors. So then we kind of talked about what those are, how accurate it was, and maybe the limitations of that analogy. And it's just it was really good.
Brilliant, fantastic. Well done. Great piece of work. Um, oh, so this is very interesting because I think
Mm,
quite a lot of peer reps is picked up on this about actually as a peer rep, you have a lot of ownership, you have a lot of leadership, you are given sort of creativity rights, uh, but and whilst that's really great, there's also whilst you're in this role, it can have a big impact on your own mental health.
mm.
So do you want to say a little bit more about about this slide?
Yeah, so I guess starting with work-life balance, we kind of it's it's difficult to just keep to a 9 to 5 routine, being a peer rep and just doing any sort of youth work, I guess, because loads of um, organizations don't run like that. So like the CYN thing, for example, I think that finished at 9 o'clock at night. So that's an example of how you can't keep to that 9 till 5. So a big part of working as a peer rep is like negotiating your own time. Um, and something that I struggled with as well was kind of um, figuring out how to balance my own life. Got fun stuff, got a band going on as well, so it was kind of difficult at the start to kind of figure out what I was able to manage. But once I kind of realized how much I could do, then I was able to set those boundaries. And it
Yeah.
helps, of course, when you're working during the day with some great people who are really constructive and like want to see you develop and want to help you and support your work and support the work that OTR does.
Yeah, we're quite lucky. We've got a fantastic team, as in the membership team, but
Yeah, and beyond.
within OTR is a fantastic team.
Yeah.
And going back to that work-life balance, there was a lot around just before Christmas, wasn't there, where you was trying to get out to all these communities and engage with these
Mm,
young people, but also do the thing that you love and go out with your band and gig.
mm,
Um, but you was doing too much of both, and
yeah,
it was there was a time where we just needed to say take a week off, get some
mm,
rest, and then
mm,
come back after Christmas and try and rebalance your boundaries.
mm,
Um, and and since then there's been a lot of questioning around or I'm working late, can I take this time off? And I
mm,
think that's something that you are still learning and developing, is
mm,
um, that thing around whilst we have to work flexibly, how do we
mm.
set those boundaries so we do take the time back? um,
Yeah.
so that's been a very interesting conversation and something to work with you on. And I forget because so I'm a workaholic. But is that thing about working with you as a peer rep, you are expected to work with young people, and young people don't work 9 to 5. But
Mm,
then how do we support you to put your boundaries in place so you can work flexibly but not get burnt out?
mm,
So I think that there's been a lot of conversations around that, hasn't there?
definitely, yeah.
Um, But your advice to other people is to set your boundaries, isn't it? It's actually you are only do 3 days a week, and it's fine to take time back. It's fine to say no if you're too tired, or there's other things planned. And it's important to keep doing the things that you love to do as well as work and follow and do your placement.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then this last tip about countless tips. Oh, there's always so many, isn't there, off the record? There's always so much like advice around how to look after our mental health.
Yeah, exactly, and kind of like doing that yourselves. That picture in the bottom left is when I did one of the challenges for the Instagram hubs on Saturday. So that was just doing like a headspace meditation. Um, so yeah, it's just an example. But yeah, just I suppose amongst all the thousands of wellbeing tips, what I took away is it's really important to be present and set aside time for reflection. That's just what helped me.
Brilliant, brilliant. And it is that thing about it's not about necessarily doing all the tips, it's trying
Mm.
to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think being present and setting aside reflection is really useful. And for some people that really works, and for some people it doesn't, but it's really useful for you to work in that way.
Mhm.
Nice,
Yeah.
brilliant. So moving forward, um, do you want me to click on the next slide, or do you want to have you got some comments on this?
Yeah, so I guess the next slide is just about some of the things that I've collected whilst working with neat organisations. This is just some of the opinions of their workers. Yeah, so for many young people, the idea of approaching an organisation is daunting, even though the organisation may seem friendly. That's just a message that I've seen come up a lot. Is that we look really friendly as an organisation, but that at the end of the day, we are still an organisation, and that can be the daunting factor for young people, and particularly, well, from what I've heard, the neat young people. So it's important, I think, to make it as easy as possible for those young people to be able to get into our services. And I think a good way of doing that is having these strong links with these organisations like the Prince's Trust and CYN, so they don't have to approach more than one organisation. It can kind of be done by their key worker or whatever else to make that first step.
Yeah. It's that thing time and time again. It's about partnership is key, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, and then poor mental health is a barrier to education, employment, and training. But being not in education, employment, or training can also be detrimental to mental health. So that was just I mentioned it earlier. A lot of neat focused organisations give some support for mental health, but sometimes it's not enough, or they need more specialists, or maybe their services themselves are a bit inundated. So the fact that they are able to link in really easily and quickly with us, I think would be really, it's a really important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. We've had a lot of conversation about this as well. Is that yeah, there's loads of stuff around. I guess I think a lot of learning and a lot of thinking that I'm having is that idea about the community team that Rosie's set up, thinking about how they go out into these
Mhm.
spaces and provide support. So not only is the membership is saying hi to people in different
Mhm.
organisations and all in pop-ups, we also look at taking OTR's message and work to different groups of young
Mhm.
people, but using something that engages that type of community. So Rose is
Yeah.
looking at using sports with young people and doing going out to different
Mhm.
organisations to run sports and mental health and wellbeing stuff.
Mhm.
And then we've got Inspiration Works lead who's going to be taking creative arts out into communities and trying to engage communities in
Mhm.
mental health conversations. Um, So I think, I think there was a lot of thinking in our supervisions around that, and around how that community team really helps with these first 2 points.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, um, our internal research found that like 50% of young people find out find out about off record through professionals like teachers and GPs. But a lot of these young people, the only professionals that they will speak to will be those that are in organisations that are helping them find EAT opportunities.
Brilliant. And then your third point, which I think, again, has really impacted some of my thinking. Do
Mm.
you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so young people's material deprivation impacts their ability to access support. So, I mean, something that came up all the time was the fact that these organisations, EAT organisations, provide support for helping young people get to their sessions, basically. Be that providing their bus fare or whatever. Um, or just having more spaces that they can access. And then something that came up on recently was the fact that a lot of young people don't have access either to the internet or to a device that can do things like Zoom and Google Hangouts, um, or just even a private space to be able to do calls like this. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's just something to think about. It's really difficult to challenge. I don't want to just put out you know, this thing that is unsolvable, but maybe something to think about moving forward.
Yeah, like if there's a young person that's neat, they're probably using internet, Wi-Fi, like McDonald's free Wi-Fi,
Mm,
or Princess Trust free Wi-Fi, or off the records free Wi-Fi. They
mm,
probably don't have access or the money or the means to access internet unless it's in another space.
yeah.
So that's something really big to think about. So if we're trying to communicate via social media, like we are at lots at the moment, how are these young people that maybe not have the money or the means able to contact an organization if they just don't have it, if they don't have
Mm,
internet? And I think I certainly did as a professional. I took it for granted that everybody has a mobile phone these days and
mm,
everybody has a laptop, which is not the case.
yeah.
Some young people, they got an email address that they maybe use once a week when they
Mm,
go and see their key worker.
mm,
So it's thinking about actually how, if we want to reach out to more of these young people that are on needs, it's thinking about actually we need to get into sort of the world that they're living in, and
mm,
thinking about the limitations that they are facing. Yeah, so I think that's really a really useful insight to have.
mm,
Nice.
yeah.
And then thank you, OTR. So that sort of brings us near the end of our presentation here today. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. So I mean, just to say thank you. I feel like I've learned so much, and had some great experiences. Um, Yeah, that's it
Yeah.
really. There's another slide just with some reading about kind of neat stuff in Bristol and beyond. Yeah, if anybody's interested. Um, yeah.
Brilliant. And I was going to say, Ben, we really appreciate you on the team. You bring this um, sort of quiet confidence
Mhm.
about yourself and about the work you're doing. And I think that's really reassurance between the team. It just gives us all a little bit of it's okay, we're doing a good job sort of vibe. So that's really useful. And also you bring this calming element. So when we are feeling stressed, you sort of bring people down and just being like, actually, what are we doing? You ask very thoughtful questions to everybody in the team to help develop our thinking. Um, yeah, and I really appreciate working with you, and I've challenged you quite a few times to step out your comfort zone, and you're a very resilient person that's sort of accepted that challenge and sort of stepped out your comfort zone. So yeah, there's been a lot that you've learned. There's a lot that you've developed, and you are going to leave a little hole in OTR when you leave, which is a bit sad. But your this link work with NEETs has been a real eye opener, I think, for Off the Record, thinking about how we develop these partnerships more effectively.
Cool, great.
Brilliant. So we're going to pause it there. This PowerPoint. So thank you, and thank you for watching. And we're both just going to say goodbye for a minute. So bye.
Bye.
And then I'm.